Hello, this is Andy from Finance Training Academy and Finance Business Partner Academy. And as you know, we've been recording a series of blogs for you to help support you during these rather unique coronavirus times. And we've been having some wonderful chats with real experts in their fields about all sorts of topics. And we're absolutely delighted to welcome one such wonderful expert today. We're very privileged to have with us Susan Creardon, who is from a company called Beyond the Numbers, and it's all about see and be seen finance professionals. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Delighted to have you. Thank you for being here. Now, Susan, when we were chatting about this, we were talking about finance people who have just suddenly been flung into the spotlight. They're there helping to save some companies, grow other companies, and so on. So we thought that would be a very helpful topic to speak about today, didn't we?
We did.
But just before we do that, would you mind just giving us a very brief overview about your company, Beyond the Numbers?
Yeah, so Andy, I worked as a finance director myself, and I've also worked in operations. And I thought afterwards, what do I want to work for myself? So a good idea is to help finance people see and be seen beyond the numbers, because sometimes we're just seen as the numbers people and kind of ignored or left in the background. And sometimes we forget to see beyond the numbers and use our words to influence people and not just rely on numbers. So my idea is to try and get people to be as good with people and not afraid of them, but actually out there working and seeing and being seen beyond the numbers.
Oh, I love it. And we can't go into this too much today. We could spend a whole day talking about this. But Susan has been in earthquakes, tsunamis, she's been held hostage. This woman is no stranger to uncertainty. So a global pandemic is just run of the mill for you, Susan, isn't it?
Well, this is lovely because I get to stay at home, and but in this case, I think the weird thing is it's invisible, isn't it? The virus is it's not something we can see. But I wasn't in the earthquake or in the tsunami. I went to work in places after. I didn't cause them when I was there.
You're just in the disaster zone helping afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing today. That's what we're hoping to do today. So let's get cracking then. So our accountants, our finance professionals who have been flung into the spotlight from perhaps more of a background role, what sort of guidance and advice have you got to help them cope with this new situation that they're dealing with?
Well, I guess in a way, we're all qualified to do this, and our training was all about doing this. We are partners to the business, but maybe a lot of the time we've been a bit silent or invisible. And I can remember being on a small plane years ago, and we were coming into land, and the pilot had to pull up suddenly, and it was really scary. I burst into tears. He actually saw this, and afterwards he said to me, we've been trained to work like this, that, we love when there's a real life situation, we can come off autopilot and take control. And I think that's it for finance. We're ready for this. You've got it. You have the knowledge, you have the expertise. And really now is the time to come to the forefront and be confident that you have the experience and trust in that experience to carry you through.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust in your knowledge, trust in your experience, trust in your qualifications, trust in yourself, basically. Yeah, absolutely. It's just, if everyone really wants a piece of you right now, is the company going to survive? Am I going to keep my job? Blah, 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 blah. What are the numbers? How much cash have we got? What other advice can you give them to help them manage this situation?
Yeah, and I mean, that is overwhelming, I think. I think you have to be quite strict on boundaries, and that might sound a bit and great against what you really feel like doing, but if you're not going to do it, no one else is going to allow that to happen. And I think by being strict on time and when you're available and all of that is just it'll help everyone in the long run.
Yeah.
And I think, under conditions of stress and uncertainty, we all become selfish and we all think, oh, what about me? Will I lose my job? How am I going to cope with the kids being at home and homeschooling, as well as will I pay my mortgage? There's all of this stuff going on. And if you're feeling like that as a finance person, everyone else is too. And
Yeah.
I think it's useful to think we're all feeling like that, and just think of each other as people struggling to cope. And
Yeah.
and actually all you really want probably is someone to talk to you calmly.
Yeah.
And your calmness and your confidence will reassure people. And you don't have all the answers. Don't be afraid to tell people that you don't know, that you're keeping them up to date. And I think that's it as well, isn't it? The regular communication, being clear and concise on what's known and what's unknown.
Absolutely. And that honesty of what you do know and what you don't yet know, but what you're working on, will be just so appreciated by people, because like you say, we're all human. This time calls for a lot more kindness and compassion. And I love what you said about listening as well. Obviously, in some cases, unfortunately, finance people are going to have to be communicating some bad news. So how can they do that? How can they best do that?
Well, I think bad news, always the way I've approached it is you're probably going to feel terrible yourself. And actually, if you don't, well, then there's maybe something wrong with you. So feeling like, oh, this is difficult is a really good preparation, because you are dealing with another human being and you're delivering bad news, or maybe several, maybe it's a whole department or a company. And allow yourself to feel those emotions, and then treat people with dignity and respect, as you would want if the shoe were on the other foot. And I think that's always an approach I've taken, is imagine if it was me being fired or being furloughed or whatever it is, and then trying to deliver the news as nicely and calmly as possible, but not and also allowing silence. I think one of the things I've learned is when you deliver bad news, people go into kind of a state of shock often, and they don't retain what you're saying. And the tendency for us is to keep talking, because we think, if we keep talking, we fill the silences and there's no need for any silence. But actually, the best thing to do is, if you see that kind of pensive look in somebody's eyes or that faraway gaze, be still and be silent with them. And actually, then they'll come back and they'll probably ask you the same thing over and over again. And just be patient and allow people that time. And it's not personal in this instance either. It's not anything they've done. It's beyond our control. That's not going to help at the time, so don't give them too many kind of, placating words, but just be still and be silent with them and be a support.
Yeah, support. And I love that word calm. That keeps coming up. Be calm in yourself, and allow them some space to just process what's going on, because there's a lot of thoughts going through their heads at that moment in time as well. And in fact, you mentioned the word prepare, and I know you have a wonderful 4 Ps model. So can you talk us through that briefly?
Yeah, so I guess, that's the other thing, isn't it? You're going to be in lots of meetings, and how do you get ready? So I was kind of thinking, well, you need to prepare. So you've got the analysis and you can reforecast till the cows come home. You know all of that stuff, but also who's going to be in the room with you. So how do you prepare best for them? So maybe there's a bit of probing needed. That's the next P. What will they want to know? How do they receive information? Some people are good with graphs. Some people are good with words. Some people are good with numbers. But it's good to have a variety ready. So probe, see what the questions really are about. And then when you present the data in a way that people can understand it. Allow for questions, plenty of time to go through the analysis, explain your logic, and so on. And then I also think it's good at the end to propose your best course of action, so that people aren't kind of left going, well, what do I do now? And maybe they're not going to agree with what you've proposed, but you can lay out, well, this is how I came to my decision or this proposal, and allow people to interrogate that with you a little bit more. But you've gone in, you've prepared, you've probed, you're presenting and proposing what you know. And that will give people reassurance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I'm going to add another P, because all of that together is so professional.
Oh, brilliant.
absolutely love it. It's just as accountants, we just love to follow a good model, don't we? And it just gives such a lovely structure, because I think when we're in times of uncertainty, it's so easy to just think, where do I start? And actually a model like that, say prepare, probe, present and propose, is absolutely brilliant in terms of laying things out as professionally as possible, to give other people confidence in what you're saying. You know, finance professionals, they know their stuff, they know what they're doing. It's just giving other people that confidence, isn't it?
It is. And a structure always helps, doesn't it? I mean, I think if in chaos, if you can have some form of structure, it just kind of, again, calms people down.
Yeah.
Now I know I need to credit that model to somebody else, because unfortunately I didn't come up with it, Andy, but it's one I like.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, and thank you for sharing it, because I know that that is going to help many finance professionals out there. I'm going to be using it myself. I love it. I think, I could just talk to you forever, but one of the things that I definitely want to cover with you today is what is bound to be happening in companies, organizations around this country, around the world actually, is the rumor mill is going to be going crazy. Even though we're not physically in the office anymore, in most cases, the rumor mill is going to be going crazy. Can you imagine? It's going across social media, it's on WhatsApp, it's on Facebook groups, it's, you know, email, and it's just going to get out of hand. So how can a finance person deal with that, again, calmly and professionally?
Well, I think one way is probably right at the beginning, and maybe it's too late, but if you haven't done this already, it's to appoint one person as the universal truth sayer for the organization. And if it's coming from them, it's a bit like the UK government have done with Google here, and said, you know, if it's NHS or WHO, listen to it. Anything else, you know, ignore. So it's almost the same. Do something like that. Also, I guess, I mean, you know, finance integrity and discretion and confidentiality, it's kind of in our DNA, but it's also no harm to remind the whole team that actually, you know, you might have some friend working in some other department, or, you know, we always have people that come to us for little snippets of information. Try and stay away from water cooler talk during this period, really. And, you know, don't say anything that you're not absolutely sure of, that you haven't heard from whoever's in charge in finance, or the one universal truth sayer. And I think that's what it comes down to. Again, we'll all want to know stuff, and we'll be picking on pieces. And I think talking to people is very important as well, Andy, because you can read something in an email and go off and think, oh, is that what they meant? And then, you know, you'll phone a friend and say, well, I read this. And they'll say, oh, I thought it meant that. And suddenly, you know, who knows what's going on. So it's also like being available to speak to people. And maybe, you know, if you have time, somebody else can do this, some frequently asked questions, because we probably all have the same questions, and you could just develop some FAQs. You might refer to them in a meeting or something, or whatever, but, you know, if they're there, maybe you send them out every Friday. These are the frequently asked questions we've had this week. These are the answers. Even if it's the same stuff over and over again, people just need regular updates. And somebody told me that it's little and often, a bit like eating, you know. If you can do it little and often, it'll keep hunger at bay.
Yeah, I think that's really appreciated by people, isn't it? That constant communication, even if there's not much different to say at that point in time. I love the idea of these are the questions that have come up this week, and therefore this is this week's frequently asked questions. Oh my gosh, like I say, I could just talk to you forever, but I'm sure other people will want to connect with you and learn so much more. You work with finance professionals, particularly senior finance professionals,
Yes.
in a coaching capacity.
Yeah.
So who do you typically work with, Susan, just to let everyone know?
So mainly, like it's typically finance directors, CFOs, financial controllers, but also people that are on their way into that role. I like to work with first timers, people who are maybe struggling to find their feet a little. But at the moment, Andy, I'm available as a resource, as somebody who's been through lots of uncertainty and chaos, who remains calm, composed and clear-headed, to do whatever I can, really, to help finance teams, CEOs at this point in time.
Wonderful. And I know you do an incredible job doing that as well. So if you want to connect with Susan, her contact details, you can find her on LinkedIn, but her contact details are also below this email and this blog for you to find out more about Susan, what she does, look up her website and so on. You can tell she really knows her stuff and knows exactly how to deal with uncertainty. Just seems too weak a word for the things that chaos. Yes, this woman knows how to deal with chaos. So if you're going through that
and to cause it at times, you know.
You what? Sorry.
And to cause it at times when we.
She's got a wonderful sense of humour. She's just brilliant to talk to. We've had so much fun since we've met, haven't we? It's been brilliant.
Yes, it's great, Andy.
Thank you so much, Susan. We've really appreciated your time and your expertise today, and I know it will have helped so many people out there. So thank you so much.
Most welcome. Anytime.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.